What if I told you that $50,000, the price of a mid-size SUV, is enough to fund years of real retirement in 2026? In the West, that's barely a down payment. But in 4 countries right now, retirees are already living near beaches, paying almost nothing for healthcare and wondering why they waited so long. Real places, real numbers, real trade-offs. Let's get into it. There is a reason Thailand keeps showing up in retirement conversations, and it's not just because it's affordable, it's because Thailand is one of the few places on Earth where spending less money can genuinely give you a better life. In cities like Chiang Mai, many retirees live comfortably on around $1,200 to $2,000 a month, depending on lifestyle. Modern condos with pools and gyms still rent for roughly $350 to $700 outside luxury districts. Local meals often cost just $2 to $4, and private healthcare is dramatically cheaper than what many people are used to back home. But the dangerous thing about Thailand is how quickly your old definition of expensive starts to collapse. At first, the affordability shocks you. Then, the convenience does. Hospitals that look like luxury hotels, fast internet almost everywhere, modern malls, cheap transportation, massage shops on every street, and entire expat neighborhoods filled with people who originally came for 6 months and quietly never left. And then there's the food, fresh fruit smoothies for about $1. Huge night markets where dinner costs less than parking in some American cities. Some retirees say they spend less in an entire month on daily stress than they used to spend in a single weekend back home. That's the real secret of Thailand. People don't just move here because their money lasts longer. They move here because life feels lighter. Of course, there are trade-offs. The heat can be intense, visa rules change regularly, and outside tourist zones the language barrier becomes very real. But even with those challenges, Thailand remains one of the clearest examples on Earth that retirement does not automatically have to mean downsizing your life. Sometimes it means upgrading it for less money. Now, the next country is one where the cost of living almost stops feeling real the moment you arrive. Vietnam feels like a country moving into the future at full speed, while somehow staying unbelievably affordable at the same time. In coastal cities like Da Nang, many retirees rent modern apartments near the ocean for around $400 to $800 a month, often less than a tiny studio in major Western cities. In Ho Chi Minh City, entire afternoons disappear inside tiny cafes where coffee costs $1 to $2, and local meals regularly come in under $3. But what surprises most foreigners isn't even the prices. It's the energy. Scooters flood the streets from sunrise to midnight, food vendors cook on nearly every corner, and every neighborhood feels alive in a way many expensive countries no longer do. Vietnam doesn't feel like a place people go to slow down completely. It feels like a place where life still has momentum, and financially the value is almost absurd. Many expats say they live comfortably on roughly $1,000 to $1,800 a month, depending on lifestyle, while eating out constantly and traveling throughout the country. The more local your lifestyle becomes, the more affordable and honestly more rewarding Vietnam gets. Some retirees arrive thinking they'll stay for one winter and end up realizing they've accidentally found the most financially relaxing years of their lives. The downside? Traffic can feel chaotic. The humidity gets exhausting during certain months, and long-term residency still isn't as simple as some retirees would prefer. But despite that, Vietnam is quietly becoming one of the strongest value-for-money countries anywhere in Asia. And once you see how far your money stretches there, it becomes very hard to look at Western living costs the same way again. Now, the next country is completely different from the first two, and for some retirees, that difference is exactly the appeal. There's a moment many retirees have when they first visit Ecuador where they suddenly realize they can breathe again, not financially, physically. Because unlike the intense tropical heat of Southeast Asia, cities like Cuenca feel like permanent spring. Cool mountain air, slower mornings, colonial streets. A pace of life that feels disconnected from the constant pressure of modern Western cities. And then you start looking at the numbers. Comfortable apartments in many areas still range from around $400 to $900 a month. Restaurant meals are affordable enough that many retirees stop cooking nearly as much as they used to, and private healthcare costs are dramatically lower than in the United States. Many expats say they live comfortably on roughly $1,200 to $2,000 a month, depending on lifestyle. But what makes Ecuador stand out isn't just affordability, it's balance. Because life here often feels calmer without feeling disconnected from the modern world. Walkable city centres, fresh produce markets everywhere, strong expat communities. And because Ecuador uses the US dollar, Americans especially find the transition psychologically easier. No exchange rate stress, no constantly converting prices in your head every time you buy something. Some retirees come here for lower costs and end up staying because their blood pressure, financially and emotionally, finally drops. Of course, Ecuador has challenges too. Crime concerns have increased in certain regions, politics can feel unstable, and infrastructure quality varies depending on where you live. But for retirees looking for affordability without giant megacities or crushing humidity, Ecuador has quietly become one of the most attractive options anywhere in the Americas. And now for the country that almost nobody expects to see on a retirement list. Tunisia feels like the kind of place people discover by accident and then wonder why the rest of the world never talks about it. Because this is Mediterranean living, the actual Mediterranean, but at prices that feel almost frozen in time. In coastal cities, apartments near the sea can still rent for roughly $300 to $700 a month, depending on location, while local cafes, transportation, and fresh food remain dramatically cheaper than southern Europe. And the atmosphere is what really catches people off guard. French-style bakeries, slow cafe culture, fresh seafood markets, warm evenings where people sit outside talking for hours instead of rushing home exhausted from work. Parts of Tunisia genuinely feel like an older version of the Mediterranean before prices exploded across Europe. Many foreigners say they live comfortably here on around $1,000 to $1,800 a month, depending on lifestyle, and that's what makes Tunisia so fascinating. It's one of the few places left near the Mediterranean where average retirees can still realistically afford a coastal lifestyle without watching their savings disappear every month. But Tunisia absolutely is not for everyone. Bureaucracy can move slowly, language barriers are stronger than in Southeast Asia, and some retirees need time adjusting to cultural differences and infrastructure. But for the people who connect with Tunisia, those trade-offs stop mattering surprisingly fast, because what they gain in return is something becoming increasingly rare in the modern world, a peaceful lifestyle that still feels financially sustainable. 4 countries, 4 completely different retirements, tropical convenience in Thailand, fast-moving affordability in Vietnam, mountain calm in Ecuador, Mediterranean slow living in Tunisia. And the biggest surprise, none of them require you to be traditionally rich, because retirement in 2026 is no longer just about how much money you have. It's about where your money still buys you peace, freedom, and a better quality of life. And honestly, if you had the chance to leave tomorrow, which one of these 4 countries would you actually choose?